climate last night in the Eurogroup was inevitably, I'm sure, a bit tense. I was not directly in the room, but what is clear is that the outcome of the meeting was very profoundly unproductive.
Γνωρίζετε τι ήταν αυτό που υπόθηκε ανάμεσα στους υπουργούς οικονομικών εχθές?
The other finance ministers were irrelevant to the outcome of the meeting. It was only one finance minister who determined the outcome, and that was Wolfgang Schäuble of Germany.
Τι ήταν αυτό που ζητήθηκε ακριβώς από την Ελλάδα μέσα στο Eurogroup?
Schäuble did, to put it precisely, was to say that Greece faced a choice between signing up to the previous program or terminating it, in which case there would be no further support. So that put the Greek delegation in an impossible position after an earlier situation when it would have been quite possible to come to an agreement.
Τώρα, τι ακριβώς συνέβη? Είχε δοθεί στον κύριο Βαρουφάκη ένα κείμενο πριν μπει στην αίθουσα και όταν μπήκε του δόθηκε κάποιο άλλο για να υπογράψει?
Yes, that is exactly what happened. Before the meeting, Minister Varoufakis told us that he was very happy there was an agreement that he was able to sign. That then what happened was that he went in, and that agreement had come from Mr. Moscovici with apparently the support of other senior leaders of the European institutions. Then they had gone to see Mr. Dijsselbloem. Mr. Dijsselbloem had a different draft, an altered draft, which he insisted was the only draft. That draft contained terms that were known to be unacceptable on the Greek side. So the draft from Mr. Moscovici was effectively withdrawn. So just before the meeting began, Minister Varoufakis came in. I was with the Greek delegation at the time and said, we're back to square one. The delegation worked extremely hard over the course of the afternoon to produce a viable version from either the Moscovici or an agreement on the basis of starting from either position, frankly, because you could have edited out the bits of the Dijsselbloem draft that were not acceptable, would have been perfectly possible, and staying within the framework that we understood to be the legal requirements that pertain to the situation.
Πιστεύετε ότι μπορεί να βρεθεί μια λύση με τους εταίρους μας?
I think it's possible to draw a reasonable inference that there was, in fact, a great deal of goodwill on the part of various leaders of in the European institutions and in the Eurogroup, including from the European Commission and from the International Monetary Fund, and that and I think perhaps also from the European Central Bank, but I'm not certain about that. That there could have been a reasonable resolution of this matter, that we could have gotten to the point of serious discussions over what the actual agreements, content of the agreements would be, the actual actions and sequence of actions going forward would be, but that the government of Germany had decided that at least now was not the time when it was going to budge from its position. And it basically meant that the entire meeting was a waste of time. It didn't get us any further forward from the previous meeting on Wednesday night.
Τι πιστεύετε ότι μπορεί να γίνει από εδώ και πέρα?
The next step today, there is a meeting of the ECOFIN, which is the European Union's Council of Finance Ministers, and I know Minister Varoufakis is staying in Brussels for that. So if there is to be a next step, I presume it would have to come from an initiative on the part of the European partners to get the process moving again. However, I can understand that this is a very frustrating process for anybody who is accustomed to, let's say, regular and disciplined parliamentary routines. It's really quite striking how manipulated this process has been.
Γιατί πιστεύετε ότι ο Ντάισελμπλουμ έδωσε άλλο κείμενο τελικά στον κύριο Βαρουφάκη?
Well, you know, Mr. Dijsselbloem on what was it, Wednesday night, said that if there was no agreement at that moment and no communique, that the process was finished. So what he says now does not carry a great deal of credibility, honestly. I think it's up to Mr. Dijsselbloem to try to reestablish his credibility.
Κύριε Γκαλμπρέιθ, πιστεύετε ότι ο χρόνος για την Ελλάδα τελειώνει, ότι είναι πιεστικός?
Time is a problematic consideration at this point. What will happen in the next days depends on a number of factors, and time is certainly one of them, yes.
Εσείς αυτή τη στιγμή τι θα συμβουλεύετε τον κύριο Βαρουφάκη?
You know, I have known Yanis Varoufakis now for a number of years, and I have a great deal of respect for him and trust in his judgment. I'm basically here as a friend and to provide any kind of technical support that I might be capable of giving.
Πώς βλέπετε να εξελίσσονται τώρα τα γεγονότα?
I think we're still in discussions. I think, let's say, the government of Greece is still in discussions with its European partners, and the outcome at this stage depends very much on them. And I would only hope that the people of Greece continue to lend their support to their newly elected government, which I believe merits it. And let's hope that there is a change of heart on the part of the senior European partners, that the partners who were in fact constructive, and they were, as I said before, senior European partners who've been playing a very constructive role in this, and there are also governments of Europe who have at least expressed sympathy on the sidelines of this affair. And let's hope that sentiment prevails rather than the sentiment which was expressed yesterday by the German government, which was a sentiment of obstruction and a willingness to take enormous risks with the future of Europe.
Πώς πιστεύετε ότι μπορεί να αλλάξει η πλευρά της Γερμανίας?
All of that depends whether the German government changes its position depends upon one person, and that's the Chancellor of Germany. And it's not obviously for me to judge what Chancellor Merkel may decide to do when she finally makes her, when she finally resolves how this should be settled one way or the other.
Βλέπετε στις επόμενες μέρες να υπάρχει ένας περιορισμός στη κίνηση κεφαλαίων εδώ στην Ελλάδα ή ακόμα και μια έξοδος της Ελλάδας από το ευρώ?
I do not foresee this in the immediate future. I think there is considerable belief that capital controls will be very difficult for them to be effective. Let's say that I believe the government of Greece is focused on attempting to get a reasonable resolution of this impasse with its European partners right now.
Πιστεύετε ότι ήταν έτοιμη η ελληνική κυβέρνηση να αποδεχτεί κάποια σημεία, δηλαδή υπάρχει κάποιος χώρος και έδαφος για συμβασμό?
My understanding of the Greek government position is that yes, indeed, it was perfectly capable of accepting compromise language. The Greek government has, of course, already compromised on important questions. It has already met its European partners a considerable distance from the opening let's say, arguments of this discussion. So yes, there is room for compromise. There was common ground for an agreement, but the agreement cannot be on the basis of an all or nothing proposition that has been discussed now for days and days, which, as I say, was the position as of yesterday evening of the government, basically of one country. I'm not saying it wasn't supported by other countries, but the final word came from the government of one country, and that country has to consider its position if it wants, whether it wants to engage in a discussion or not. European institutions, is my understanding, I'm not a European, but my understanding is that European institutions are founded on the proposition that differences are resolved by discussion and not by dictation. And perhaps I'm simply misinformed on that point.
Και κύριε Γκαλμπρέιθ, τι θα λέγατε κλείνοντας στον ελληνικό λαό που παρακολουθεί τις εξελίξεις?
Calm and courage, my friends. Calm and courage. That's what's required at the present time. Thank you very much.